Hi everyone, and hi Linda. Welcome back. It's been a while, a whole week since we've talked.
A whole week, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
I know, it
I'm
never
looking
ends.
so forward to talking to you.
It's an avalanche of political energy, and my feeling is that it's going to continue, in all
We
kinds
got
of ways.
100 questions, but
Yeah,
we'll pick and choose, because we can't do personal readings. So,
right, right.
but what do you think about the feds and the National Guard with that whole Abbott thing? You said you took a look at Abbott's chart.
Yeah, so I looked at Abbott's chart, and I have to qualify it a bit because it's one of those charts with no birth time, but I know his birthday. And what I see is that he is very unlikely to be thrown out of his job because that's what a lot of Democrats are thinking. How can someone who does something this crazy not be immediately dismissed or have something horrible happen to him? That's very unlikely, but it's also very unlikely that he gets his way because there's enough of a mix in there to be stopped, held back. So he's doing this thing, because that's what Texas, that's what how they think and so forth. But don't expect it to work, especially when I look at where Biden's chart is going as we move towards spring. You would have to have in Biden's chart something really hugely problematic, and there's not. There just isn't, and that in fact, Biden's chart improves as we get into the spring. So, and he's defying the Supreme Court. See, we're starting to get into this thing where there are three branches of government, and some of these guys are challenging the entire judicial system. So is Trump. And you got to be thinking, if you're the Supreme Court, it's pretty logical. They're thinking, well, if we give in to this guy, he's going to start attacking us and he may completely ignore us, which is what Abbott is doing. So they're not going to get good results in the courts, and it just won't work out, basically. That's the bottom line. So don't be thinking because you've got Abbott and now all the Republicans governors are saying they back him and all that, that they're going to get very far with that. No.
No, and they were going to succeed from the United States. Well, even talking that language is illegal. But
Exactly.
then they found out they won't get their Social Security checks.
Yeah, well, exactly. No, and by the way, this goes to this thing where they're giving Biden a tremendous opening for the campaign season to talk about how he is willing to do something very strong on immigration. And they are now saying, no, we don't want to make the deal because the Orange Menace doesn't want that because the orange cockroach, what does he want? He wants to go into the election saying there's something wrong with Biden's immigration policy, but Biden is the one saying, no, let's do it. So he's going to start campaigning saying, hey, I got a plan here. They just don't want to do it because he thinks that by doing it this way, you're going to vote for him. Don't vote for a person like this because he's actually letting in the fentanyl and all these problems on the border, which I'm trying to solve. So you see how the GOP these days is really split. They've got all kinds of
weird, and they're going to impeach that poor guy, which is not going to go through because it won't go through the Senate.
No, well, that's you mean impeach which poor guy? Biden?
Our the one who's working on the borders. What's his name?
Oh, Mallorca's. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
a nothing burger.
yeah. No, I mean, the thing is, the thing to keep in mind is they do everything for their base. They want their base to see them do something radical. Look, they're going after Hunter Biden's laptop. They're doing all that stuff. Their base is not big enough, and you're going to start seeing this now as we go into the middle of the year. Then you're going to start seeing polls and where people are really turning, right? Because they're more and more out there. It's an election season, and you're not going to see those gaps the way you saw them before, like after the Israeli crisis and all that, when Biden's numbers dropped. That's what I'm
numbers are going up. A Mammoth poll had him up 8% higher than Trump.
Yeah, no, exactly. The way this will work is that Biden's situation improves starting in March, just as Trump's is getting worse and worse. Which, by the way, it's already gotten 83 million times worse because we know the reason for that. And and I think it has some effect because he stopped using her name. He probably thinks, okay, if I keep going,
Oh, I couldn't believe, but he is posting other people's statement about her.
he is. But there's a very good chance that by sometime next month, he is behind $500 million when you add her money to the money he's going to have to pay in the Letitia James, right?
That's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. So the point being, he's in a bad place, and that's before the transits really pick up and like mid-year. that's a total hellscape,
Well, you
right?
know what's really, but I don't know why he thinks being president's going to save him from that. You can't get out of that. I don't care who you are.
No,
But
but even, yeah, 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 right, right,
you
right.
know what's really going to affect him is the fact that he's not as rich as he told everybody.
Oh, well, of course. That's what I was going to say next. That I was going to say, okay, so let's look at this, right? He tells people he's worth 10 billion. Okay, well then, it'd be like, okay, if you're worth 10 billion, then if you have 10 billion and someone said you have to pay half a billion, that's like if you had $10,000 in the bank and someone said, we're going to fine you 500. That's not that bad, right? I mean, it's not a great thing, but you just pay it. But he doesn't have 10 billion. He has 10 billion hairs in his head, that he puts on there, but he doesn't have $10 billion. So then, he's going to go broke. He's going to have to start begging for more and more money, which, by the way, that's what his chart says. His chart's been saying this for years, that he's getting deeper and deeper into the debt house and the matters of insurance, matters of banking. That's why it's not working. It's plain and simple, right? And
Man,
yeah,
Andre, you've been telling me this from the get-go.
yeah, no, and it's not
On
going to
Debbie's
change.
channel, I said, who is this guy? I gotta have him on my channel. And you started laying it out. You know how he looks like he gets away with everything? That's about ready to change.
Yeah, no, and it's been a build up. I mean, this is the thing that frustrates people because they think rightfully in a certain way, how can someone this bad not be stopped on the spot? Because
Right.
that's the way our system is. It's slow and so forth. But look what's happening. By the way, another thing that's really interesting. One of the things in his chart that's most problematic is that female warrioress planet, Eris, that is right in his face, and it's not going to let go. That planet is got him in a straw, in a headlock until the next decade. He's going to be into his 80s, right? So what do you keep seeing? All these women on TV. It's always women that are taking him down. They
Oh, I said back in the day, it's a woman that'll take him. I didn't say women's, but I think it's women's.
women. Well, yeah. Look at E. Jean Carroll, the two lawyers, the three judges that are deciding that other thing are all women. Women everywhere. Letitia James, Fonnie Willis.
Annie.
Yeah. If I've often said this to people. If the founders had seen the future, they would have thought, "Wow, that's pretty strange." that I can't believe it. What has happened to our country? Because even they didn't give women the right to vote. I mean, they wanted
No.
exactly. So, but that's the whole point, is that the situation is getting worse and worse. And by the way, an interesting thing to compare too. I took another look at Jack Smith. Jack Smith is the perfect foil for this guy. There's no way he gets out of this one. The one, with Jack Smith has him in, that's the one. That's the one that is most problematic. And so good luck. Good luck with these things that he's doing. I still don't know if you'll make it all the way into like, meaning be the actual nominee, because now the other thing that's happening that is, I'm not sure where this is going to go, but what do you feel about Nikki Haley? Because Nikki Haley can do a lot of damage to this guy, a lot of
She
damage.
already is.
If she keeps talking like this, by the way, another woman. Isn't it amazing? All these
Isn't
men
it
run against him,
amazing?
and a woman shows up there to be the foil. He's hating it because she's pointing out the obvious. She says, hey, look at him. He's forgetting things. He
Yeah.
told people that banks want to debank you. What does debank mean? He just makes up words. He says, I know words. I know the best words. He just made up a
Yeah, I
new one.
just saw her on something. She said he called me Nancy Pelosi, but not just once, several times.
Several times. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, because he hears that, Trump is always tuning in. So then what he does is, then in his rallies, he says, oh, I passed that cognitive test, which is a test for people that are becoming, they're, if anything, some comics say it's like for brain damage. He says, well, I remember, necklace, per, all that stuff, because he wants to tell you, no, really, I'm okay. But the problem is, I think, my sense of Trump is that he's been using some kind of drug to get himself up all through
Yeah,
these years.
Adderall or something like
Something
that.
like that. And the problem with those things is, especially as if you keep using, and as you get older, you'll get this kind of thing, ups and downs. So sometimes you hear him and he's really on, and then you have periods where he's really off. He can't think straight, doesn't know what year we're in, says that he's run against Obama, that he beat Obama in 2016, that there's going to be World War II when it already happened, things like that. And then he makes up words and gets it all backward. But I mean, think about that. How bad, where's your mind to say Nikki Haley was the one that you sent troops to in 2020? You said, which is a lie, by the way, that's another lie. but that's where he's at. So don't expect this to get better because the thing is, the aspects in 2024 are really dangerous to his health. Really
Yeah.
dangerous.
And I
I,
saw him at one of his rallies and he was doing that desk elephant, but he was telling the audience like they were interested in this. And then I told them blah, blah, blah. And what do you think about that doctor that signed out all kinds of narcotics,
well, I mean
including ketamine?
that's the amazing part that it's so obvious to if a person has a brain and they see the flow of the news and they don't start saying, oh, this is fake news. This is known by everyone that this guy was passing the dope, that Provigil, I don't know what it is, but it's probably another form of Adderall. It's to get you up, right? Well, you know what? There's a song I used to listen to by Alan Parsons Project. The theme kept going, what goes up must come down. That's exactly what happens. You put in an upper, you're going to get a down. And then you get, a group of people that are out to lunch, like that doctor was, and the way Trump is, because Trump at times seems like he's completely demented, the way he's talking.
Yeah.
But this helps Biden because if you start saying, Biden, look, you're too old and that, well, who are we comparing to? He's too old compared to Nikki Haley, that's true. But not too old compared to Trump. Not even close. No.
Hey, can you put me on pause 1 second? I just got to give my son his food.
Sure. Okay, so back again.
We got a question about Zelensky. Are you seeing, when did you think this war might finally settle down or?
Well, Zelensky, the way I read that one is that once we get into mid-year, the energy changes to favor him. And then if you look a little, so from there to the following, a full year, summer to summer, is really good for Zelensky. But the same thing is not true for Putin, especially next year. Next year, the year after, things start to downtrend for Putin. That's why my sense has always been that the Republicans are not going to win the White House. They won't be able to stop the war in Putin's favor, right? Yeah. So I think we have to wait until mid-year. But the other thing is, for Biden, his foreign policy situation has been complicated for quite some time now, but it improves as we go toward, spring and beyond. So that suggests to me that some kind of deal is made, to keep the Ukrainians armed enough to be able to fight back against at least for now, short of a bigger deal, so that this idea that, Trump wants it to cut off completely. If Trump had his way, then they would just hand you the keys of Ukraine to Putin. Right? But
if he got in, that's it. Ukraine must kiss their rear goodbye.
Exactly. No, it's just that we're in that period where it's going to take a little bit longer, to get it passed. Yeah.
How does Pluto entering Aquarius affect the USA elections?
I don't know that it affects the USA elections that much more than being in late Capricorn. The main point is that Pluto, even now in early Aquarius and late Capricorn, if you do this correction for something that's been around for 250 years, you could still say we're still on the Pluto return. So the Pluto return is why we're in one of the reasons. It's not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons, because the other reason is that there are these cycles that resemble the Civil War in the 1860s. But a Pluto return, one of the ways it shows up is it's the attempt at fascism. The idea that Trump is openly saying, no, we need to have a strong man, who tells you what to do. And they'll ask his followers and they say, yeah. What they were saying, I saw these Trump followers saying, yeah, we need a dictator. We need a dictator for a while. Yeah. They don't seem to understand how that works. So it's the struggle around that. The problem is the U.S. is just not fertile territory. The U.S. is one of the worst places to try something like that because it's by nature a very independent thinking country. Like the way the country was formed and the chart and everything, it makes that an impossible thing. But it doesn't mean it's going to be easy peasy. That's why we're in this thing and people are worried, right? We got to get to the other side to then start a new cycle. And because Pluto moving into Aquarius, when you look at it, the whole 20 years it's going to be in Aquarius. That's what tells you that it won't work to create a dictatorship. But as it's kind of on the edge, it keeps everybody scared. No, I mean
Yeah,
Pluto. Keep in mind, Pluto rules panic. Like if you're ever in a panic, that would be that would be Pluto. So it has a little bit of that feeling. But again, stay calm. And Democrats have to realize two items on the menu, vote Democratic. Don't be talked into anything. No RFK, no Jill Stein. That's not even a good plan. When you do that, you can hand the election to the other guy.
right. Why
It's
do I feel RFK is a nothing burger?
That's good because with him, I sort of thought that my feeling was that he would be a factor until late spring, and then he would all. Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad. I'm glad that you
Yeah.
you feel that because that's a good thing. So you feel like he just won't get any traction.
I'm not feeling any traction. I am not feeling him, or just even his own family can't stand him. They
Do you,
love
do,
him, but they said he's crazy.
well, he is. I mean, I'm sorry for the people that think because they think he's anything special. If you listen to him carefully, he throws a lot of statements out there with no proof. Very Trumpy. He saying things. This is so. This is so. When a lot of it is not so. Go research it. He's
But
making
the
it up.
ones that are for him are Trumpsters.
Yeah. Well, there are
It's
some
not
Democrats.
regular Democrats that go for him. It's usually the non-vaxxers that go for him.
Yeah. Well, in a way, that would be good. The more that go his way, the better. But the worry is always that you can get a percentage of Democrats, like the Democrats that voted for Jill Stein in 2016. That's why Hillary lost. And
Yeah.
plain and
Well,
simple.
and that's
So.
not just there was a lot of cheating going on. That cheating can't happen now because uh, Biden is in office.
It's harder. It's much harder. Yeah, no question. I mean, the thing that Trump tried to do, you need to be in the administration to, for
Yeah.
instance, mess around with the National Guard. What you can tell. I mean, this guy he keeps trying to egg his supporters to do something horrible. They're not doing too much because they've seen so many of their comrades, put in the slammer. And so they're thinking, if I do that, I'll probably get a jail sentence. So, you know, that's
Right.
that's the main reason why things became so ugly because we had a really horrible president at the time.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
logic. Yeah, exactly.
So, Mike Pompeo, have you ever looked at him in a long time? Everybody's
I,
asking what happened to him.
I haven't. He just hasn't come up. Do you get a sense that he's going to pop up and be anything? Because I don't get that sense at all.
I hear crickets.
Then that's what it is, crickets, right?
He wants to
Because
stay out of the limelight.
yeah. Well, Mike Pompeo also he's too big a personality to align well with Trump. Like if you're thinking he would be his running mate or something, that would really surprise me. No,
No, he's going to pick somebody like Ben Carson.
really.
Want
Huh.
somebody very flat lines, nobody that would argue with him.
You don't see a woman in there?
I don't see a woman.
Well, if he gets Ben Carson, he's picked the official somnambulist. He can,
Oh,
sleepwalk his
Ben
way through.
Carson called him what do you call him? King David?
King David, yeah. Even the the Fox guy was totally surprised. So you're comparing him to King David, and it was this long silence. It's just it's hilarious. By the
It's
way,
like that. It's like that Elena Habit,
yeah. But I was just gonna, yeah. You totally read my
duck
mind that
lips, duck
you know
lips.
that you see the Fox commentators. It's really interesting how people that used to be strong allies, like McEnany, that blonde, the one that was doing the
Yeah, I
messaging,
remember her.
and now he's attacking her because she was just pointing out the truth. She was saying this isn't good. The way this is working out. She's looking at the numbers and saying, you say you're winning big, but you're not winning big
Yeah,
when 70% of the other side says they're not going to vote for you, right? So
right.
this is probably broadcasting other problems as we go into other states. There are lots of people that realize, that he's a liability. So,
Well,
uh,
that poor Elena Bobbitt, number one, her license is going to get revoked. Don't ask me when or where. I just feel it. And also, he knows he lost a lot. Well, he lost because of him, because she did whatever he told her to do.
mhm.
But now he just made a statement where he was sort of blaming her. I know she's not a very good attorney, he said, but she was MAGA all the way. So he's throwing her under the bus.
Yeah, no. And by the way, I mean, this all goes to another truth too. That do you notice that every single person practically that gets near this guy gets damaged? It's like they don't realize, he's totally toxic. He's radioactive. You should stay away from him. in they go. I think Nikki Haley has given up on being connected, and I think maybe she finally saw the light because, if someone like Scott or Stefanik or someone like that gets near this guy, he's going to destroy their career.
Yeah.
Completely
Well, he's
destroy
already
it.
telling them what to do and how high to jump.
Yeah, which fine, but
And you know who else is going down? I know this is your show, but I got to tell you, I just got a hit. I see Matt Gaetz going down hard. There's
Matt.
some
Well,
stuff coming up on Matt Gaetz.
that would be good. I haven't looked at him in a while.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah.
Gaetz is going down hard.
By the
I
way,
don't know why I just got that flash, but whenever I get flashes, I have to say it out loud.
so what do you see though? Let's see if you get another flash on this one because this one has me a little puzzled. I don't have a lot of info. My info is weak. I don't have proper charts for either Mike Johnson or Jeffries. The House side. So
Yeah.
it's a little hard to read because there are contradicting energies in there. What's your sense of that of the House of
I
Reps?
feel that Johnson could be April, May, because I almost feel he has to do something with the Democrats. Something's coming up that he's going to go ahead, because I think Trump's numbers are going to be, something with Trump is so bad to where they can't lean on the Trump thing. They're not getting intel from Trump. So I feel he does something that Marjorie Taylor Greene and the rest of them decide he's going to go. Well, they can go ahead and do that. But then what'll happen is I think Jeffries will get in before the election.
Before
I
the
think
election?
enough Republicans are so done with this that they'll put Jeffries' names up and they're only two or three short. They
Wow.
only
Well,
need
that
two or three Republicans to come over. And since Trump is such a loser, I see some sound-minded people saying, you know what? We're going to go for Jeffries.
Well, from your lips to the universe's ears, that's perfect. If that happens, what what
That's
a
what I got. I feel
what a
like Jeffries
development.
might get in before. Jeffries is definitely getting in. And I'm
Huh.
going to tell you something else. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it now. Not only is Biden going to win, but we're taking the House and the Congress, the Senate and the Congress. And then I see enough numbers that we go in and just start codifying Roe versus Wade. We're just going to make sure that, people are taken care of with the DACA, which I've always seen being, that these people can be citizens, these poor people that serve in the military and everything. I see all that going through. I've always seen it. My guides have always told me, and I believe them because they've never let me down. Time frames can be iffy,
Hmm.
but I'm telling you, I saw DACA going through. I saw Roe versus Wade being codified, and I see the Supreme Court being changed. I think
Hmm.
because like even Thomas might be sick or he's like upset because, Biden wins again.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be, in a way, if this is the way it goes, uh, it would be fantastic. My one, my thing around the possible worry, which it'd be like the response because the cycles are so similar to the Civil War, all of that, and I don't think the Republican, well, the GOP, all the followers will be happy, right? So
Yeah.
then, do you see any violence or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Any you
Yeah.
see problems with that, right? Yeah,
I
well,
see
maybe.
a group of like Minutemen. I see men up in mountains. I see people trying to act like they're military. They couldn't even be ex-military. But let me tell you, I don't know what they do, but they're taken out like that.
Hmm.
Because I see helicopters.
Hmm.
And it's easier for the United States to take out these people than it is a town with kids running around. I
Right,
see
right.
them going in and taking them out.
Well,
And there's a lot of intel that'll pick up on this chatter. There's a lot of chatter.
yeah, no, they're that. I mean, people often underestimate how much the government is on top of it. There's always this theory. Oh, they're not paying attention. No, they're paying
No,
attention.
they're
Be
paying
careful.
attention.
They're
They
paying
knew
attention.
way back when that Trump was selling the United States out because they had a mole. Someone was ratting and killing their people out in the field. And they kept telling, hey, we got a mole. Who knew it was our own president of the United States and his son-in-law?
Yeah, I know. He's Did you hear that joke that one of the comedians made? Because um, he said, so Trump was ordered to pay $83 million to E. Jean Carroll, and then now next what happened is that someone was selling uh, classified documents on eBay. I know it's a joke, but
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
I know that's the thing that the when we're in election season, what I start to notice is I get people sending me messages saying, "Look, this person said, based on this and that astrocartography, the other person, the other thing, Trump is." So then, sometimes I think, okay, maybe I'll take another look. So I start looking at Trump's thing, and I think, "There's no way." I look at
There's
that
no
chart, and I
way.
think, "No, no, no!
He's
Don't put any
drowning.
money. Don't put any money on this guy. Don't."
Listen, we have common sense. Even if I wasn't a psychic and you were an astrologer, we'd say that guy's going down.
Well, yeah, although, if you, I mean, from astrology at least, and even for you, you could be getting a feeling, that this is going to happen. Astrology, if you see the right patterns, you'd say, well, there's a possibility. It's way too complicated, way, way too complicated. There are patterns in throughout the year and even at election time. It's not
Yeah.
fertile. It's a huge problem. It's more reflective of someone that is angry, you know, rejected, upset, than someone that's just scored some kind of big victory, which it would be, right? It would be
Right.
a
Right.
phenomenal victory. And not to mention that ahead of that, which is even more critical, in the spring, what's he going to do about these health aspects? These really big health aspects. The older you are, the more threatening they are. It's that simple. I'll just leave it at that, without telling you, some kind of outcome. Just
Right.
that, right? Just that, plain and
Well, we
simple.
already know his brain is going through something.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
And once again, may I remind everybody, President Biden didn't have to run. He's old. He could have retired. He did a lot of things, a lot of things. The only reason he's running is because that idiot decided to run again. That's the only reason he's running,
yeah,
because
yeah.
he knows he can beat him.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because in the this is the same story as 2016, 2020. It gets decided in a group of states. It's not the entire country. A national poll is not useful to you. Hillary had better national polls. She lost because she lost in the key states, right? So,
Right. But she had more numbers. She had more people voted for her. She
right. So,
lost
like for instance,
electoral.
you take Michigan, which is one of the key places. That's filled with auto workers. Those people don't like Trump. That's why they endorsed Biden. It's very hostile there. Wisconsin, another problem. They've got very strong group of Democrats fighting back. Pennsylvania. As soon as you lose those three, you lose the election.
Right.
Right?
Oh, my friend said Pennsylvania is going through the roof with people voting for Biden.
Yeah, no, and I mean, even if you don't win by big margins, because we're in a period where it's tougher and so forth, very, very problematic. And
Yeah.
but the thing is, you go through lots of ups and downs if you're following polls, and you can get easily caught up in some momentum like last year. That's classic. That. By the way, that's another question I have for you. What do you sense about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict? Because I'm guessing that if Biden's situation is getting better in the spring, then there must be some agreement that gets made or
Oh,
something
there's definitely
happens.
going to be an agreement. And I see Netanyahu going. They might force him out. Something's going to happen where they don't have him so much, because he's really pushing. He's, there's crimes being committed there's too many people dying in Palestine. And I know they want to get rid of Hamas, but I'm almost seeing like, do you remember when they kidnapped a whole bunch of Israeli, I don't know if it was soldiers or Olympic people.
Oh, way back? You're talking in the
Yeah, a
70s?
long time ago. And
Yeah,
they
yeah,
killed
yeah.
them all. They killed them. Do
Yeah.
you remember that?
You mean the Israelis or the Arabs?
No, the Iran kidnapped a whole bunch of Israeli, I think it was Olympics. And they
I
killed them.
thought.
Remember they came in there and they were all dead?
Are you sure it was Iran? I know it was an Arab country, but I know that I know that Israel after that took revenge. It took them quite a few
I was
years,
going
but
to
they,
say, that's my point there. Maybe I got the wrong country, but Iran went back and got every single person involved with those murders.
you mean Israel? Israel
I
went
mean,
back.
Israel,
Israel,
sorry.
right, right. No, yeah,
Israel went back and got every single. So why can't Israel just sit back and find every single Hamas that was involved in that horrible devastation they caused?
yeah. Well, see, the thing is, the conflict is that Netanyahu, he doesn't want a two-state solution,
No,
but the problem is the world is now pushing in that direction, and he's also been really discredited because he was there at the helm running the country when the attack happened, and it came out that he was funding, he was actually helping Hamas to stay because by Hamas staying in power, it validates his idea that there should be two, there should not be two states. But this is just the problem right now. So many democracies are in a struggle. Israel is one of them. The U.S. There's a lot of division, but these are cycles. Things will change.
well,
They'll go the
listen, the
other way.
president just announced that he's going to get back at I told on one of my shows, I said, the minute we start getting US servicemen dying, men and women dying, Biden has no choice but to go in and shoot up some people. So that has just happened. So now everybody's going, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, it's going to be shock and awe is what I'm getting. They don't want a war with Iran, but they're going to hit something because I can see them pointing at a map and it's going to be boom, boom, boom. Mark my words, you guys, even by the time we wake up in the morning, it might be all over the news that we just bombed, blah, blah, blah. And we're this close to a world war, but I see everybody backing down. You know why? Because they killed US military men. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
You can't do that. Men and women, two young people and a 46-year-old man.
Yeah,
You can't do that.
yeah, it's a dicey situation,
That's
but
the one good thing about Trump. When North Korea was threat, and he said, "Come on, Rocket Man, we'll blow you right out of the water." And then he backed down, wanted him to be his new best friend.
yeah, he backed down. I know, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the thing. The U.S. spends so much on the military that you can't win a scrap with the U.S. It's really hard.
Right, and listen, China's going through some hell with economics. They're going through some. They don't have the people aren't having babies anymore.
Mhm.
Russia's going through hell. They're depleted. So nobody wants to start a war right now. But
No,
I
no.
see us slapping like boom, boom, boom. That's what I saw.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the thing is though that once again, when I look at Biden's situation, it doesn't seem like he would get in trouble from the foreign affair side of it, and
No,
that
he's good at
because
it.
and it would have if he did something wrong, then he would be he'd be
Yeah.
in trouble that way. So that's why I don't know how exactly it's gonna shake out, but we just gotta give it a little more time, another couple of months or so for things to get
I
smoother.
do see energy hot and heavy, everybody nervous about maybe a world war, but I don't see a world war. I see people don't have the energy to start a war right now.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, and that's good too. It's good to hear because yeah, that's true. It's
Yeah,
true about China that everybody's saying China this, China that. China has a lot of internal problems in their
they do.
country.
And can I tell you, they live fat off the United States and they don't want to interrupt that. They need the United States.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, very true. And the thing about their chart, the interesting thing about them is that they're in a period of great change in these years we're moving into. And I mean, if you think that great change, because it's Pluto, that they're gonna Pluto on their ascendant, that they're gonna start getting all, you know, into power and so forth. But what are they gonna do with that? You're much better off to change your system to something that works better for you than to get all militaristic in a fight you can't really win. Because
Right.
how do you win those fights? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
And China has been introduced to Western culture. You just don't have people riding bikes who went to the factories and worked for nothing. You have people who earn money, who like living in a Western culture, who like owning things. So like us, we tend to not want to blow people out of the water, because you don't have those people just doing, the soldiers doing whatever they're told to do, like in North Korea.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's totally true. Yeah, I mean, it's totally. This is the thing that if you watch anything historical, you realize how people complain about the U.S., Canada, North America. Compared to what? Just start looking around. I mean, if you see the story of North Korea, it is the scariest thing. This is like it's Trumpism, like to the moon. They turn the guy into a god. People get put in in concentration camps.
Yeah, if you're not clapping hard enough, you'll go to jail.
Yeah, and you're not. It's not made up. It's 100% true. That is what they do. They're basically like an armed, system with nuclear weapons, but they're not producing anything. They're just stealing things and oppressing people.
But
And
also they know nothing else.
yeah,
It's not like they lived fat and then all of a sudden this. Like Iran had a beautiful country, but people went to college, women were involved, and then it changed. That's why it's not going to stay changed like that.
no, well, but that's interesting that you've said that in the past too, because that goes really well with the Pluto cycle. Pluto, as it moves into Aquarius, is notorious for the people rebelling, and there being revolutions of such as that, like for instance, women,
Women are
rising up.
rebelling in Russia as we speak.
Yeah, which is that's separately. That's the other thing with that planet that got discovered. My sense is that as we go into 10 years, another 10 years, women are rising. So if women are rising, this is bad news for people like the rulers of Iraq or Iran, not Iraq, Iran, North Korea, because that's all male-dominated, testosterone-driven insanity where they're not making any sense, but they use muscle. But then, when women rebel, that's how it goes. Because
Well, like even my tribe, the women owned the property and ruled the family. The man would just go out and find the meat and come back.
yeah, women,
The
when
women
women,
were the ones that ruled the roost.
it's
And in
actually
Africa too, the tribes of Africa, the women were queens. They were the bigwigs.
yeah. I mean, my feeling is that when it comes to organizing and keeping things, uh, sensible, women are better. I mean, men have too many, crazy ideas. It's like remember that thing we talked about how when they in 2008 in I think it was Iceland, they put all the men that were buying stocks ended up in jail, and there wasn't a single woman because the women that were in the same industry, they weren't buying stupid stocks. They were buying, normal stocks. So then they didn't tank. The men were gambling it, almost like being
Oh
in a
my
casino.
God.
So they all got put in these really nice jails, because in Iceland they have cushy jails. But even so, it shows you the big problem with that kind of approach. And if you take an approach like that in government, even worse. That's, by the way, the entire Russian system. It's like a masculine culture, right? They want to have, the big shot in charge, riding the horse, and being Mr. He-Man, very powerful. But meanwhile, what are they producing? Nothing. They have oil and guns. That's their thing.
Yeah.
Where in the U.S., which by the way, the U.S. once again, we've said this before. If it's not for women voting, Trump would be president now. Think about that. Think about how crazy that is, right? That
I
now
know.
that doesn't mean that lots of men wouldn't have voted against him, but more men than that would have voted for him. This
Yeah.
is crazy. This is really the crisis this country's in because you have to be both uneducated and mean, mean spirited to vote for a person like him. Both,
He's very, very mean.
So yeah.
So listen, Sally says Jack Smith gave a subpoena to the House of Representatives for documents which a sergeant at arms read into the minutes. Is this finally the beginning of the end of Congress people who took part in the insurrection? One of them was a Democrat, though. One of the persons they wanted stuff on as the Democrats was a female Democrat.
So this is what happened here. That Jack Smith. What did he do? I didn't catch that.
He just gave a subpoena to the House of Representatives, to Congress, to the sergeant at arms needing documents.
Well, okay. I don't know what you see with this. What's your sense? Because my sense has always been that Smith is doing it top down. So instead of doing it little guy to big guy, he's going big guy, then he's going down. So there were a lot
and
of.
I always thought when he gets Trump on January 6th, it's when he gets everybody else.
Yeah, that it follows. But again, be patient because legal proceedings go really slow, So,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
true.
we should start seeing. But I'm thinking next year though. I think this year is too soon. My feeling
Okay,
that,
okay,
doesn't that make sense to you?
that
It
makes sense.
because he also could be the other thing he could be doing is he's getting information to implicate them and to use it against Trump. That's my
Okay.
feeling. Yeah,
Oh, that makes
yeah.
total sense. That makes total sense. So did you take a look see at Jack Smith, by the way?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned them a few minutes ago in the sense that Jack Smith, when I looked at that, what you see is that there is, first of all, he's the perfect Trump enemy because you see the way their charts connect. Smith is out to get him, no question. He wants to take Trump down because he's got all these planets and Trump's money house, and then, you know, uh, he's attacking all his vulnerable points. You see that in the chart to chart comparison. But you also see that Smith has, there's a point there in the spring around, I think I saw April. That's a bit of a bump in that it could be that the trial gets delayed till a little bit later, right? Because of where that Saturn is. But moving forward from there, much, much better than Trump. Like you
Well,
see
I
victories.
heard that they're waiting for that okay from some court.
Yeah.
Uh, and the J6, and somebody said based on the timing, the earliest the trial could start now is April. That's so funny you said that.
Yeah, April. So even though there may be a delay or some other setback, but not enough to stop the freight train moving in that direction. And you see times when Smith's chart is really strong, and that's not a good thing for a guy like Trump because if the prosecutor's chart is looking really good, that means he's got you. He's got you in a vice. So perfect foil for this guy, and yeah, that's it's and I don't have his birth time too, but even without that, you can see it. It's
You
pretty
can see
clear.
it. I love
Yeah,
it. I love it. I love
yeah.
it. Andre from Dwight. Does a leap year ever get taken into account for astrology?
Not really. A leap year, all it is that you're adding a day to keep the situation working around the calendar, right? But the planets are still moving. And if you look in the planet columns, it'll show you where they are February 29th, and then it shows you March 1st, and it's still accurate. So no, it's not an important thing.
So, I don't know if you can answer this. I don't, this is too kitty. Will Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric lose their inheritance? I feel a big dent is being put in any money their daddy had. I bet you Don is asking his son-in-law, Jared, for some cash.
Yeah, I don't. See, the thing with Ivanka, Jared Kushner, I've always had weak information around having no birth times,
Yeah.
and I just don't get a sense other than this is just using my political sense of things that they form Ivanka especially, and Kushner. They're like down the road because of their association with Trump, and as Trump is totally, broken basically, then the law catches up with them because they've obviously done some things that are
If
that are
some,
that
I
are
know,
crooked.
I've always seen Jared in an orange suit.
Right, but it just takes longer, for that to be
Yeah.
the case because right now they're kind of on the back burner of the law following them. I mean, you got to realize that the one thing about the American system that is brilliant is the same thing that is bad about the American system, which is that it's run by lawyers. It's run by lawyers, but be careful because if you get on the wrong side of something, the lawyers will come after you. Shea Moss and Ruby, right? Look what happened there. That's a big settlement against someone who is a lawyer,
Yeah.
Giuliani, right?
I love it.
But he took it upon himself to make up lies. There's a lot of money to be made. Your lawyer will knock on a lawyer will knock on the door and say, "Hey, we can take this guy to court. Just give us, if you give me 30%, I'll get him. We'll go for this many million." So it's very, very dangerous. That's the other thing too. That I don't think Fox News has seen the end of this yet. Fox News still has more
Oh,
to
they
go.
got another company suing them big time for billions.
Exactly right. So the great equalizer is the dollars, right? You step out of line, you pay a big price. So
And
that is the brilliance.
Trump, he didn't fight when E. Carroll said, "You did this to me," he didn't fight it. He said, "I never met her." He just thought he could blubber his way through it. And then when they go to court to get damages, he's acting like, "Well, I never did it." Well, you should have done that back when we were doing that trial. This is a totally different trial.
Yeah, but the other thing about people that are narcissistic, and especially when they're malignant and demented, the way this guy is, and I'm not kidding because he is, they get these ideas in their head that I'll just show up and as soon as they see me, they'll do what I
Yeah.
ask. No, they won't. They actually, what I heard was that his behavior in court made it worse. The jury
Oh,
watching
yeah,
this thing,
they were turned off by him
because
stomping.
you look at a guy like this and you think, yeah, I think he probably did this because the way he's behaving, this guy kind of reminds me of someone that would kind of cross over lines and do things that are really bad, right? So
Right.
then they rule
He
against you.
proved beyond a reasonable doubt who he was.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, the lawyers didn't have to do any work. They just have to say, well, just watch without saying it, because the jury.
Oh, he handed them the gold bars right there. He just
Yeah,
knew.
exactly. So
I
and,
mean,
and
for them to be out, first of all, it was Friday, so I know they were totally sick and tired of this case. And I knew he made a bad impression with them. And they went back there and said, "He's guilty of sin. What do you guys think?" Boom, boom, boom. Plus, they had to go off what he bragged about, that he had all this money. What will get him to shut up? So they used what he said.
yeah, no, that's exactly. See, this is the thing. Like on the one hand, you don't want to have too much money because then you think, well, he can't pay. But he was saying, I'm worth billions. I'm
I'm worth
amazing. I have this
billions.
big
I got a
brand.
400 million in the bank, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so last question. It's a good one too. Have you taken a look at Taylor Swift?
That's a great one. I haven't yet. I'll tell you what I feel about Taylor Swift, though. Uh, my feeling is she's going to back Biden. She's going to back the
Oh, she
Democratic
is.
Party.
Yeah.
And that's a huge endorsement because a lot of the young crowd will vote just based on that. So she's a great asset. But thanks for bringing that up because I think there may even be a time for her. So I'll take a long look at her
Take
chart
a look at
to
her.
see, because she would be really helpful in understanding how does she line up with Biden, what kind of thing might be going on there. Yeah, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, and there was, I don't know if this is true, this is what I heard, but apparently she didn't speak up when Trump won the first time, okay? She didn't get her involved. And she said apparently a lot of her fans were white supremacists.
Really?
Yeah, so she had to denounce it because she didn't like it.
Wow. Well, this
Her
is the thing
parents
though.
were worried about her doing that because I think her parents were Trumpsters. But anyway,
What thing is
so
that?
she said, "I have to say something. I can't allow this." And she wanted Biden to win, and her parents were fighting her on it.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, because the thing is, she's got such a huge following that you almost expect.
Oh,
Uh,
some guy on Twitter said, some repube on Twitter said, apparently the guy that from the Kansas City, he got for winning this game, he got $74,000 bonus. So there you have it. That's why she's with him. She's a multi-billionaire. She's not with him for a sec. That's like chump change.
there are a lot of the people that follow this guy. Okay, I hate to say this, but there are some really stupid people. I mean, I saw this one person posting, and she said, "I will only vote for President Trump, and if he's not elected, I will tell all my friends to never vote again." So I thought that's great. That's a good plan.
Okay, cool. Cool. Let's do it.
You don't see the downside. You don't see the problem with that logic, but they put it out there. Like it's some kind of like I'm gonna change the rules, change the game by doing something completely backwards. So, and this can be part of the problem for a party when your base is in large numbers people like this, because people like this are not the people you want following you. It's not a good idea.
I just
Sooner
got
or
another
later.
hit.
Hmm.
I'm really getting hits tonight. I just got a hit that Trump is really getting upset. Sad actually, because I feel that he's going to these places for these rallies and he's not filling their house up. He's not filling them up.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
then
could
he
see
just
that.
goes through, and then they told me to say elephant, apple, card, that's what he's talking about. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to know what you're going to do for the country.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that totally because
But I
the thing.
just felt him not, I feel he's not sleeping well. I feel like he's very, very sad. More so than angry. I felt sad.
I can totally see it. You know,
And
that's my
like,
point.
he's having his CPAs running through numbers and they can't figure it out.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, if you look at his chart, the idea of being sad, being held back, being yes, it's there. So yeah,
And
no
partly
argument from me.
because he's not getting the money, the donations like he did. Partly, this is the two thing I'm getting. He wants to win as president so he can steal more money. And the other part of him is like, how am I going to get through this long enough to get through the, because he's just not getting enough money.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing that when a chart has money problems in one place, you usually have money problems everywhere. And his money situation is definitely under stress. Obviously, he just got hit for all those millions, and he's about to get hit again. And no surprise that it would cascade into a continued thing. The other thing too about him that I remember noticing is that he's got this one cycle that is keeping up his popularity, but that's also now fading and moving into this other zone. Instead of being a supportive thing, it goes the other way. That this to me starts to get scary with Nikki Haley because if she stays in, you know, you never know. If this guy runs into a brick wall, she might end up being the person running. It's possible.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's a
I threw cards
possibility.
on her. Her cards were good.
Yeah,
I
see
don't think
that?
she'll win as president, but she could take him out. Who
Yeah,
knows?
exactly. Yeah, it's a possibility. Definitely. Yeah.
So we always felt maybe he won't make it. Maybe it's not because he dies. Maybe it's because, like we were hoping. I mean, we shouldn't say that.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it's not because he's sick or he dies. Maybe it's because someone beat him out.
Yeah, no, that's the whole point. I mean, there are a number of ways this can go, but the key thing is, you know, which way is the flow going? Not going to a good place. Plain and
Okay.
simple. You know, it's that simple.
Well,
All
thank you,
right.
my friend.
That was fun.
That
All
was
right,
a lot of
everyone.
fun.
Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.